Coming up, we're checking into the haunted hotel. Join us as we dissect Hokum. Stay tuned.
Demons do exist. It's just people with closed minds. Can't see them.
Welcome to The Morgue, where we dissect the latest and greatest in the world of entertainment. And we are your hosts, Arturo, Padilla, along with Mr. Nick Valdez. Before we get started, do not forget to hit that subscribe button, that thumbs up, and that bell. That way you know when all these videos are dropping. Tex, how we doing today, buddy?
Howdy, everybody. Howdy, Arturo. Hokum. This one first made its debut during South by Southwest, and it was during that time that it got like kind of like some good reviews from critics, some interesting stuff coming out of there. The usual festival fare when it comes to like a standout movie at a horror, like in general. Directed by Damien McCarthy, who you put me onto with Oddity.
Yes.
Oddity was like a very slow burn kind of movie, had a creepy doll in it, or like a creepy wood thing.
Yeah, a creepy like wooden kind of statue that's super menacing. He also did a movie called Caveat, funny enough, that it also deals with a creepy kind of doll. It's like a little creepy like brown or gray bunny doll that's found in the wall, and it's all based off this kind of creepy folk horror slow burn kind of situation, both in Oddity and in Caveat, and here in Hokum as well.
Yeah, Hokum, once again, it's going full folklore. You've got Adam Scott starring as Owen Ballman, an author who's currently writing like the final book of his book series. And his parents have died, so he's going to Ireland to a hotel that they used to stay at, and is wanting to spread their ashes and kind of like put them to rest there. And it turns out this hotel is haunted by like a witch or something in the honeymoon suite. But then also at the same time, people go missing, and it starts this like kind of investigation into that. And he's also dealing with his own mental issues that he needs to confront. And all the while, this is all kind of colliding into the final picture we get. So the way we review things here at the Morgue, we're going to go full spoilers with this thing, and we're going to dive into it. So if you wanted to go in blind to Hokum, go check that out, come back here, tell us what you think, that kind of stuff. Or if you just don't care, kind of want to hear us talking about this, see what the whole fuss is about, we're going to get right into that. So Arturo, how are you feeling about Hokum? What's your general reaction to this?
Hokum. Oh man, Hokum. This movie was interesting. It was definitely interesting. I was not a big fan of it. And if funny enough, I walked into this movie completely forgetting who wrote and directed it. And after walking out of the theater and realizing that it was Damien McCarthy, the guy who did Caveat and Oddity, I was like, oh, that explains a lot. But also, I expected better and more from him at this point. This being his third release, and this one is a full-blown theatrical release. Caveat, his first one, was a very small indie movie, and Oddity as well was another small indie movie with a very limited release as well. So this one is a major wide release for him, and his first one under his belt. And I expected a little more. I had a lot of issues with the characterization of certain characters in the movie, not all of them. I had issues with the pacing as well, but we'll get into that as we dissect this thing further along. Tex, what did you think about Hokum?
Yeah, I liked it. I'm on the opposite end of this. Like I did like I also agree. We'll get into the characters itself. We'll get into Ballman himself. Just a terrible protagonist. Just terrible. Yeah, like, and usually when we say terrible like protagonists, it's mostly like in terms of function or in terms of like what they're doing in the story. No, it's kind of just like personality. And like yeah, like he's written to be like such a terrible person, and not even fun terrible, right? Because there's scumbag personalities that you can love, right? Like you can love like a good scumbag protagonist, and
Yeah, he's
that's
no
the
Bill
thing.
the Butcher, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's no Billy Butcher from from The Boys. Like and that's okay if it serves a purpose. Like if he's supposed to be like just a general jerk, and maybe like the film takes him on a path to redemption or something along the lines of that, then like it would all settle in by the end. But arguably the movie doesn't do that. I
No.
think it accomplishes that. But even with all that said, Arturo, I still liked it. Like I'm still on the side of the fence from like, I know, like, I like the journey there. I like some of the moments. So we'll get into this.
Let's dissect that. Yeah, let's get into it, Tex, because the journey there is really where I was kind of done, honestly. As we mentioned, we're dealing with Adam Scott's character from the jump. And he's a writer, he's trying to finish a story, and he's having some issues with the ending. He doesn't know what to do, but he's having visions of his dead mother.
Right.
And that's how the movie starts, and that's what gets him to to the hotel in Ireland. But then like his character, man, he is just such a huge a-hole to everyone
Right.
involved
Right.
that it's so off-putting. Off the bat, when he starts talking, it's his cadence, his mannerisms, his attitude is just really just off-putting. His first words and his first little monologue, you're like, wait, did I miss something here? Some kind of connection or relationship that I missed? Like, why is he talking to people like this? And
Yeah.
he's just an a-hole. That was just pretty
And
much it.
it's tough too, because like when he gets to the hotel, we're getting this sequence of like the hotel owner talking about the lore, right? Like
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes, it's giving us the audience the exposition about like the folklore horror that we're going to be diving into with this thing, of like a witch who takes people and kind of takes them on a tour through the underworld, and from there demons essentially pull off pieces of them as she walks them through to whatever, right, through hell. And cool idea. It's like it's what like on paper it's a cool idea, and I want in, and it's like represented through like these creepy little statues, and like there's a lot of that too. There's a lot of close-ups of like creepy looking
Yeah.
objects, and like if you saw Oddity, that's pretty much
Yeah,
like a lot of what
that's
this
his
is,
thing.
right?
That like he does
Right.
that a lot in his movies. Oddity and Caveat. There's a lot of close-ups and still shots of like crazy, like detailed of a crumpled wall or something. In Caveat, you
Right.
get that a lot because of the like this like dilapidated house that the character is in. In Oddity, you get a lot of close-ups of the actual monster itself and this very dark house. And it works. Here it's the same thing. You got a lot of close shots of little intricate details like the bell, like the little characters we see, right?
Mhm.
And it works. It definitely works. And this is why I am disappointed with this movie, because you started to open up this box of folk horror here, but you never really, took everything out of the box. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
like we
there's
were
no
missing a
full.
lot of folk horror context sprinkled throughout in order for us to kind of
Yeah.
get engaged with this vibe. And this is where it lost me completely, because I kind of figured out where this movie was going pretty early on in act 1 when he's in the hotel after he scattered his parents' ashes. I kind of figured out what was going on and what his theme was and all that. So I guess my journey there was hindered because of that, but I still was expecting a little bit more folk horror stuff throughout the whole movie, but
Yeah.
it becomes this kind of like murder mystery thing,
Yeah, and
which
see,
honestly, it wasn't bad because it was a good murder mystery,
that's what I'm
but
saying. Okay,
I
so
wasn't looking for that.
yeah, that's what I got attached to. So I think like this is why I liked it, because like yes, it didn't give us the horror that it promised, and ultimately, yes, that's something that, of course, like objectively, I'm gonna sit here and be like, yeah, like I will say that it didn't deliver on it, right? Like
Yeah.
in terms of like defining its witch and like
Yeah.
what she's after, et cetera, et cetera. Like
Agreed.
there's not a lot of that. In fact, he's in fact Bowman's like handed like a book of Irish folklore at one point. Like it's literally just here's the book on it, and he gets like one aspect of it of like a chalk circle that he remembers to do later, and like it's cool we see that in action, but it's few and far in between because
Yeah.
but at the same time, instead, I like the movie that we got instead. Like I like the fact that like it's a murder mystery within this folklore horror, like, and but that's where our divide, you and I, Arturo,
Yes.
is set
Yes, absolutely.
because
We're definitely divided on this one.
yes,
Um,
because like usually buddies at home, like we tend to like kind of sit on the same side of the fence with stuff, right? And like but so Fiona is one of the hotel's attendants. She goes missing. She has a connection with Bowman. It's not really a connection. It's more just like she learns his story, and we
yeah.
learn that Bowman's parents, like his mother died at a young age. He says she was shot in the face. Very blunt about it. Then his father was like kind of terrible to him at the same time, and it turned into this whole thing. And as a result of that, there's a very interesting thing happening very early on with Bowman that he makes a decision to kind of Shawshank Redemption his way out of the situation. A little Brooks was here, a little kind of like to bring his own story to an end. Let's just say that, right? And Fiona saves him from that, and we get like this. There's a super cool like when it happens. There's a moment where he's like kind of like he's in like this dreamscape in
Yes.
it, and for a moment I thought that's where the movie was going. Right? I was like,
Yes.
oh, so we're gonna follow his soul through this haunted hotel and like or whatever, right? Like,
Yes.
but
Exactly.
but no, he
But
wakes
then
up.
he woke up in the hospital, Tex.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then I was like, "Where's my story, man?"
yeah, he wakes up like months later in the hospital, and like the Fiona, the attendant who's since gone missing, she's the one who saved him, found him and saved him, and like because of that he wanted to thank her, but because she's gone missing now he feels like, oh, feels an obligation to kind of like go and look for her, and then that's the story. See, that's the thing,
Yeah.
like that's the story. It's not like
But even
there
even
just
that
happens
though,
to be a
Tex,
witch. Yeah.
I still don't I understand his motive behind it. It's like, "Oh,
Right.
she listened to me and she helped me out during my time of need, blah blah blah." Cool. I get the motive, but it still feels weird because again,
It
he's a
does.
complete stranger here who hasn't been very nice to anyone at all.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the only time he was nice is when he had a little bit of alcohol in him and a beautiful woman talking to him. So it was
Yeah,
very annoying
and even
that
then,
that
like
happened.
it's not even like nice either, right? Like because during like right before that, at one point, like like one of the bellboys
Oh
is
my
like
god,
talking
yes.
to him and just like trying to talk to him like as a human being, as a fan, and be like, yeah, like he's like, well, I'm a writer too, and then but
Yeah.
he has to be like, no, you're not. You're a bellboy. Like he was a real
Yeah,
he's a
he's a
real jerk about
jerk,
it.
and then on top of that, he's a famous writer. If you're a
Yeah,
famous writer where people recognize you, even in Ireland, like,
yeah,
my man, where is your PR person? Where is your management? Because,
yeah,
like, this
yes,
is, like, uncalled for, and then as Tex was saying, there's this sequence with this character called Albie, who's a bellboy at the hotel, who recognizes him, he's a fan, he's like, "Hey, would you wanna take a look at my manuscript?" And he's very blunt with him, no, and just very mean-spirited, very venomous to him, and then
right.
he literally takes a spoon, heats it up under a hot candle, and burns Albie on the hand, which is like, dude, you just assaulted this innocent
Yeah,
man for no
yeah,
reason.
it really lays on the fact that he's like such a jerk, and like and I will admit, like we don't get the full payoff of that. Like I thought it's like, okay, I was giving it the benefit of the doubt, like, okay, he's gonna be at such a low point. And then when he does when he does the Brooks was here, and I thought, okay, he is in the underworld and he's going to be dealing with this because he was such a jerk in real life, right? But then the second half of the movie kicks in and he's trying to find Fiona. He gets trapped within the honeymoon suite, and this is where like the hook of the movie is of like the honeymoon suite. Full spoilers, Fiona's in there, or she was trapped in there by like one of the other hotel workers, and there's a whole other thing, cool murder mystery that unfolds. She's pregnant, and he basically wanted to hide it from his wife and kids, so he killed her. And then there just happens to be a witch in the basement, and then that's where the
It just so
divide
happens
goes
to
in
be
the
this folk horror thing going on in the background of this
yeah,
movie, behind this murder
yes.
mystery, and that's also where I was like, dude, we're doing some really neat things here with this honeymoon suite and with this witch concept, but nothing was scary. None of the jump scares were
Oh,
scary. Like
yeah.
nothing involving
No.
the witch or the haunted hotel or the honeymoon suite was scary. The only time actually that I had some creepy vibes was when he first got introduced to the witch and he was inside this bed and the canopy of the bed was closed, and you had a very cool shot of this witch's face and it looked like very menacing, but then like everything just falls apart. That whole horror aura and mystique that this movie carried with it just falls apart,
Yeah,
man, very
because then
quickly.
you see the witch, and you're like, oh,
Yeah, it's like,
it's
oh,
just
it's
some
just some old lady who lives in the
yeah.
basement.
Okay, so before we get into that, before I kind of want to do a little, we do need to address one of the
Yes,
donkeys in the room.
please.
So throughout all the advertisements, like they've been kind of leading with like this bug-eyed kind of creature, right? And you're like, this is the thing that gets the people in the door, right? Because you're like, oh, that must be the monster, right? That this must be the no, it's not. Like, it's not. Apparently, it's a mascot to like a kid show that Ballman used to watch as a child that's kind of stuck with him because once again, full spoilers, we find out in a dream sequence that he accidentally shot his mother in the face by like playing with his dad's gun. I didn't see that coming. So Arturo, that's what Arturo you were alluding to earlier, right? Of like
Yeah, he
how
spilled his guts in the bar, man, and I
yeah,
was like, "Oh, okay, you did it. I get it. Okay, let's
yeah,
continue."
I didn't. So in that sense, I was like, oh, that's a cool reveal. I'm gonna give it credit on my end for
Well,
that.
because he was looking at the gun too. Like before he went to Ireland, he opened up this box with his
Mhm.
parents' stuff with the ashes. They had ashes, and then it had the gun in it. And I'm like, okay, you're looking at this gun pretty fondly over here. It has to mean something. And then this story pops up in the bar, and I'm like, oh, you killed your mom.
Yeah. So, but I did hilariously, I didn't make that connection. So, but yes. So this bug-eyed thing keeps popping up. Like it pops up once, like like a dream sequence, and then it pops up again as part of like the witch's shenanigans when he's trapped in the like in the honeymoon suite, and like like then it's revealed to be yes, this children's mascot for a show he used to watch, but what I hate about that, Arthur, what I hate about the idea of a children's mascot like looking this way in general
Yeah.
is I kind of hate that in horror movies where like the whole like oh kids things turns creepy and now it's suddenly horror, right? Like I hate that because what a lot of these movies forget to do is to make a design that would appeal to children, right?
Correct.
Like you don't look at this bug eye thing. You don't look at this bug eye guy
No,
and be like, a kid would like watch this.
I
No,
wouldn't
this
let
is
this thing get anywhere near my children. This looks like a
yes,
Captain Bucky O'Hare on like, crystal meth or something.
yes,
It's ridiculous.
it is a horror movie design rather than a kid's entertainment
Yeah.
design that you then tweak into horror. There are so many things that like go that route that like, oh, what if Mr. Rogers were evil? What if the Sesame Street Muppets were evil? But then you get the puppets and you're like, these are creepy looking puppets. No, they have to look like things kids would enjoy. Like, I hate to give it credit, but look at Five Nights at Freddy's, right? Like
Yeah.
you yeah, those animatronics, like they attack but whatever, but when you look at them, you're like, oh, you could feasibly see them as like a kids entertainment franchise, right? And
Yes.
then as a perfect example of what not to do in that situation, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, you get introduced to more animatronics that are like super designed and horror focused, and you're like, this is throwing out the whole idea. This is terrible. And going back to this, I hate that because ultimately this isn't even the witch. The witch is just a lady. And like it's just a
What a
lady.
disappointment. That's
It really is.
Tex. This is why I was so disappointed with the movie, and even
Right.
more so disappointed now finding out that this was Damien McCarthy, because it's like, dude, you creeped me the heck out with Oddity, man.
Right.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't even like a moving monster. It was this like menacing looking like block statue, and it was creepy as F. And here I just got nothing. It was very soulless and very empty. And I think it started with the protagonist. You can't have somebody that is so unattached to any kind of social relationship. Like it's funny how he's talking about not about Albie like not being able to read the room, but it's like, hey, you're here talking to the bartender. You don't look like you're sad or anything or crying. Like, so he came to you like a fan. It doesn't, and he's like, oh, you should have read the room. Like, what? Like, but
Yeah.
you're
You
not
didn't give
doing
them
anything.
anything. Yes. Yes.
So frustrating. It was
And
frustrating.
they like there's a gimmick with like a tape recorder that like I liked. I'm like, oh, okay, because they play like because he when Arturo mentioned that like, oh, he's making a note to himself and saying, oh, oblivious guy who doesn't read the room as a
Mhm.
character to like as an insult. And when it plays it later in the movie, it's like, oh, okay, he's the oblivious guy
Yes.
who
It's
did
like,
who
oh,
can't read a
I
room.
I saw that. Like, oh, I
Yeah,
see what you're doing there.
yeah, and it's corny. It is, but like I'm just like
That
it's
scene
tough
did
because
work though, honestly. Like
yes,
like
and that's the
that did
thing.
work.
Like
Yeah.
it's it's corny, but like when he's in that chunk of the movie where he's in the honeymoon suite
And the
and
folk
trying
horror
to
portion of the movie. Yes.
yes, yes, when it's the horror movie, right? Like when it's the
Yes.
full like figuring out like there's a witch in the basement and you see like chalk outlines of like a gate or something that we don't get any explanation of. It's just like it's just part of the environment. And like you get all that, and like it's interesting because he's looking around, he's searching
Oh,
through this room.
and
It's kind of video gamey, right? Where he's like
yes,
kind of looking through stuff.
but also he has some help by a man named Jerry, which by
Yes.
the way, I loved. I loved his character. I
Yeah,
wanted
Jerry
some more of his
rules.
character. Jerry was
Jerry
awesome.
rules.
I wish I could find a good image of Jerry. I couldn't, unfortunately. But like, speaking of Jerry, Jerry apparently drugged him up, right?
Yeah,
And
because he was drinking. He basically like drugged up milk with mushrooms or like drugged up alcohol.
yeah, so he laced his whiskey with mushrooms pretty much, right? And my thing with that is I like that little detail. Like I wish
Yeah,
they would have leaned into that, cuz that would have led to like very cool psychedelic visuals
yeah,
that
because
you can
it's
kind
very
of get away
like
with.
it. It's funny because like psychedelic stuff makes a lot of sense when it comes to folk horror, and it is
Yes.
interesting that we haven't had like something exploring. I don't know. Have we? Has there been a movie that's gone that route of like
Um
yeah, we've had, you have drug trips that lead to like horrific imagery, but like
Yeah, there's usually
in
that. Like it's usually like when we get into some of that, it's more akin to a rite of passage situation. Usually, like a mother and daughter, the daughter going into this witch kind of rite of passage of like of maturity, and then they take some kind of drink or something. It's usually
mhm,
in that situation, but this is what you're referring to. Though, like it was a perfect opportunity to continue squeezing this folk horror thing that McCarthy's really good at, and I feel that I don't know if it was, the studio going, "Hey, let's do let's change this a little bit and make this more accessible." But I feel like he didn't do enough to showcase the folk horror here. And it's a
yeah,
shame because he had all the elements, Tex, right?
yeah, And then, the murder mystery stuff, I liked it. That's why I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm still like, I
No,
will
but that was
objectively
cool though.
say
Like
the
again,
horror's not
like
there, but the
if
murder mystery part of it is
if
there.
that was interweaved properly, right,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the horror stuff, which it could have been because we assumed that Mal was so upset about this revelation of Fiona being pregnant that he's gonna feed her to the witch. He's like,
yeah,
hey, I know about that he has full knowledge about this old lady living in the basement who's gonna take you in the through a walk in the wild side, right?
right.
And I wish they would have leaned more towards that, like him actually explicitly, bringing her downstairs or putting her in the dumbwaiter so the witch can get her, and again, it fell short of that expectation for me, Tex.
Yeah, and then that's what it is. Like it's more satisfying in that murder mystery aspect. Like it's to me it's more satisfying in the whole like figuring out what happened to Fiona and then getting kind of not revenge, but like yeah, kind of settling that whole
Yeah.
situation for
Yeah, for
Fiona.
sure.
And in that sense, I like that. I like that. But then I also like Arturo said, I 100% agree in that like the promise of horror just isn't there. It's never once scary. It's never once like it's tough, right, to review like horror movies. Arturo, you and I have gone on record of the morgue before saying that like we try not to just say something is scary or not, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not really something you can.
It's very subjective. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, like because like what you and I are so different in that what I find scary is different from what you find scary. So like imagine all you buddies at home who might think differently. And so but with this, you can say that it's just not there. There's just no like the creep factor isn't completely there. And when it is, it's at its most interesting and it just doesn't stick with it. Like it goes back to the murder mystery. And even then when you get to like the final act and you get to dealing with the witch himself, like the witch itself, and like the final confrontation with the murderer, and like it's cool that the witch ultimately takes the murder away. It's real Ghost, it's real Patrick
Yeah.
Swayze's Ghost of
Yeah.
like the evil guy gets punished by like the otherworldly figures, and you're like, yeah, that's a good way to go, right? And you're like, yeah, that's a great way to like wrap that up. But like the witch, it's just like it's not even really like that
Yeah.
cool of payoff
You
either,
know what it is too,
right?
Tex? Like this is like a reverse lights out situation where we kind of wanted to know more about the witch and
Right,
about
yeah,
her dealings and what the hell she's been doing in this hotel and why did they build a hotel on top of this whole location in the first place. But
yeah,
we don't get any of that. We don't get any real explanation at all. And that's my big gripe because we get these hints throughout the movie, but nothing really concrete. We get this book about folklore and nothing really like is taken from there or used besides the chalk outline thing, which does come to use at the end in Act 3. That's how the witch bypasses him because he's in the circle of protection thing. But again, we get the folk horror stuff, but it's too little of it. I'm not saying it's too late because it's not too late, like in terms of how the story goes, but it's just too little of of the folk horror stuff. I did not mind the murder mystery stuff, but like try and mix it and and weave it
yeah.
well with the folk horror. That was
And
my problem with it.
yeah, and this isn't even mentioning like the like the two vignettes that like book like that bookend of the movie
Oh,
of like of his right when he's writing the story, and
terrible.
you see the story play out and you're like, oh, this isn't good. And
It's funny because I
and then
was
it
like, it started, and I'm like, am I in the right movie?
yeah, and then it ends on it too, and you're like, oh boy, that's when it's like it gets real like up its own butt in terms of like what it's
Yeah.
in terms of what it wants to do. And this is when it loses you because it's like it any kind of prom okay, so like it's funny because we did start out on opposite sides of the fence, but the more I talk to you, Arturo, the more I'm like, I'm giving the murder mystery side way more credit than I should because the rest of it's so disappointing. But Okay, so that brings us to the end here, Arturo. How we do things in the morgue with our reviews, buddies. It's we have our scale of pay for it, which is go check it out in the theaters, check it out on streaming, check it out as soon as you can, and you don't want to miss it. There's wait for it, which is oh, you can wait around to see it. You're not missing much. Just check it out when it's more convenient to you. Then there's stay away from it, which is totally like just avoid it completely and you're totally fine. So Arturo, I'm gonna lob it to you first. Pay for it, wait for it, stay away from you. What do you say you about Hokum?
I am gonna go with a wait for it. I think if I had watched this on Shutter at home or on VOD at home, I think I would have received this a little bit better and would have been a little bit more forgiving. But again, the fact that this was Damon McCarthy, I think this is why it hurts for me a lot more giving this score. Wait for it, because he's done such solid, slow burn folk horror, man. I've gone on record here at the morgue before saying that it is difficult to do good folk horror because good folk horror is a slow burn,
Yeah.
and it's a slow burn that slowly reveals these crazy truths and these crazy like revelations about the characters. And this one was not it, man. This one was not it. I wish he would have leaned a little bit more towards the folk horror stuff. The witch stuff was a little interesting, but it, it wasn't enough there for me to actually chew on, unfortunately. Tex, what did you think about Hokum?
So I will say wait for it, but
Mhm.
like kind of the opposite end of getting in there, right? Like this is, while you're probably more in the lesser almost pay for like this almost stay away from it kind of stance. I'm in the wait for it kind of in the more positive stance, like the wait for it plus rather than minus of like I I do agree that like it was lacking those horror elements and it was lacking a general creep factor. And I do agree that ultimately the journey didn't really pay off for such a jerk character. I
Yeah.
don't think he went through enough to warrant his survival at the end, kind of. Like I almost go that far of like, yeah, like I don't think he deserved to live, like in terms of like how big of a jerk he was, right?
His,
And
his story would have been more interesting after he brooks
I
it.
yeah, like the Brooks was here was kind of like, man, that was such a cool idea that I wish it got explored more. And but I did like the murder mystery, and I did like Jerry, and I did like enough
Jerry was
elements
awesome.
of it. I did like enough elements of it of like if I would have saw it on a streaming platform instead, like a couple months from now, I would have been like, yeah, it was fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Buddies at home, go check out Damien McCarthy's previous efforts, Oddity and Caveat. They're both available on demand. I believe you can find them on Shutter. If not, they're out there for you guys to watch. I highly recommend them. They're very good movies. Slow burns, so heads up on those. If you don't like them, then stay away from slow burns. But slow burns with very good folk horror attached to it. And Hokum, once it releases on VOD, we recommend checking it out and see if you guys dig it. Leave a comment down below telling us what your favorite folk horror is. If you liked Hokum, if you liked Oddity, if you liked Caveat, if you didn't like any of this stuff or folk horror, just let us know. We'd highly appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. This has been The Morgue, where we dissect the latest and greatest in the world of entertainment. We are your hosts, Arturo Padilla, along with Mr. Nick Valdez. A big shout out goes to you guys out there for listening and for watching. We have all these videos up on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcast streams. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Leave us some stars and some reviews. We'd highly appreciate it. A big shout out goes to Del Virus for all the artwork you've seen in front of you throughout the years. And last but not least, folks, it is a scary world out there, especially in Hokum. But we are here to walk you through it.